All right, so I'll call the meeting to order at a couple seconds before 9 o'clock, I guess it is, depending on what clock. Oh, now it's 9 o'clock. Okay, we're right on the button here. So welcome everybody. Happy fall. There's a lot going on. But the budget information we're sharing with you today is, it's still early. It's August, so there's not a ton to share, but there's certainly a lot of updates to provide you. So I just want to pause and see if there's any public comments. I don't see any member of the public present, so there aren't any public comments. And then the first thing on your agenda was the approval of the minutes from 9/9/22. That was the combined meeting with the executive committee. So I also have to have them approve the minutes when they meet on November 2nd. But are there any?
I had one question that,
Yeah.
Because Teresa was the chair, but it says that I called the meeting to order.
Okay.
And I don't recall trying to usurp Teresa's authority.
I'm making that note.
I'll find other ways to do it.
I'll be on the watch.
Okay.
Okay, were there any other questions or comments about the minutes?
No.
If not, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Okay, Steve, second. Chris, okay. Steve, Chris, and then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, approved. Great, thank you very much. Okay, Kate, we'll start with you with our summary. Do you want me to pull it up, share the screen and show it to everyone?
Sure, that sounds good.
Okay, let me do that. I think I've got it right here. Can you see it?
Yeah, so just an update on the audit real fast. So they have finished their testing. I met with them yesterday. Everything looks good. We should have a draft report next week. And then we're anticipating having the audits presented in early December. And Jay, I assume that Susan's been working with you to get that coordinated with your calendar.
Not yet, but
Not yet, okay.
Yeah.
Still working with just the auditors, but you'll be invited, and we'll bring them back to the budget committee as well as the full board after for approval. So the statements that were sent out were for August. Those are our first ones of the year that we've presented to you. On the balance sheet, our assets decreased by about $493,000 from the June 30 statements, just due to the changes in the income and expense I'll go into. And then the liabilities decreased by about $475,000, primarily for payment of our year-end AP, and then the recognition of SRT income that was unearned income in 21-22. We recognize it in 22-23. On the income statement side, our total income to date is 2.16 million. Most of that is 1.88 million in scholarship contributions, and then recognition of the 213,000 from the prior year unearned income, and then the current year income around SRT ticket sales. And then we had about 52,000 in other income. For expenses, we have 1.7 million to date. 1.2 of that is scholarship payments, and about 500,000 is admin and other operating expenses. That's our changes. Any questions?
How did SRT do this year? Do we have any early indications?
So we did limit their capacity, which we have heard from them has hindered them, but the shows did well. They were great shows, usual great feedback. But I have not looked at their final numbers for end of year yet.
So Chris, I also want to just come back to the Doyle. You pointed out at the last meeting about the Doyle reserves. So I just, under other business, I'll give you an update there, because Kate and I have been working on this with the scholarship office. And Chris, I know you and I talked about this briefly, but I wanted to give you a fuller update because I met with Robert Ethington and Rachel Kutcher the last week. We've come up with a plan. So I just wanted to share that with you. I'll do that under other business. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go. Any other questions or comments about that? Otherwise, I'm going to go into the year-to-date operating for the foundation. So let me shrink that and bring the other one up. So here we are again. This reports through the end of August. We have the foundation endowment fee revenue already in the bank. It came in just slightly lower than what was budgeted. There was an adjustment there. There's not a lot of other revenue, to be honest, like the President's Address, President's Circle. We've been holding it back because we knew about Dr. Chong's announcement and we wanted the communication to include that news. So actually that piece will probably go out in the next couple of days. I know it's been at the printer, so that'll go out. And then we do have some nice revenue from the President's Address, only because we just rolled it over from last year. We did not take that revenue into the actual operations. We just rolled it over, which is probably a good thing because we're going to have some additional expenses there this year because the President's Address will be a much bigger party because it'll be officially Dr. Chong's celebration. So we met, Sarah, Brianne, and I met the other day with Aaron Bricker in the PR office and Zara, and just to talk in general about the plans between now and June 30th that involve Dr. Chong. So we're looking at a President's Address, probably the same time we would normally do it, around June 1st. That's Thursday. That's the first Thursday. But we're looking for a bigger venue because we figure there'll be more people who will want to come. Initially, we thought we'd just keep it out on the lawn there and do it there again, but we need more capacity this year. So we're actually looking at Dutton Pavilion because Extravaganza will lay the floor in the pavilion for Extravaganza, which occurs on May 13th. So we're thinking about just keeping the floor in that space and then holding President's Address there, because it'll allow us to accommodate up to 600 people.
How difficult do you think it'll be to get folks from town to go out that way?
Go out to Forestville?
Yeah.
I don't know. And we are looking at an evening event, not a luncheon, just to make it a little more, not formal, but at least semi-formal.
That'll probably help.
Yeah. So, but that's not, I haven't run this by Dr. Chong yet. So he knows we're looking for a larger venue because Hale will only allow us to accommodate 400 people. That's just not going to be enough. So we don't really have any other larger venues. So that's one option, but I'm meeting with Dr. Chong not till the Monday. I'm gone most of next week because Teresa, Susie, and I are at the CASE conference in Anaheim. I get to go to my first conference since I've been here, which is exciting. And I'm super happy that Susie and Teresa are joining me. But there'll be a lot more activity around President's Address. The other expense that we're looking at, I'm still trying to sort this out, is, every time a president retires, there is a portrait created of the president. And my understanding is that when Dr. Agrella left, the foundation did pay for at least part of that. So I'm looking into that right now. I'm doing some research on artists that I actually got some great information yesterday on an artist in LA that I think would be very exciting. So I'll share that with Dr. Chong when I see him, but there will be that kind of added expense. Not a lot, but there will be some additional expense there as well. And then we talked about making the President's Address an actual fundraiser this year. We thought we would just keep it the way it, we're probably gonna have to charge more money for it for sure. And then we'll definitely have donation envelopes on the table and that sort of thing, but not make it an official fundraising event. But all of this is still, to be determined. And then on the operations side, we haven't spent a lot of money yet. Obviously, it's only been a couple of months, especially on the operation expenses. There's very little expense there right now. But that's going to change soon because we're gearing up for year end. We're generating our year end pieces. A couple of things are happening there. This is part of my foundation update too. I'm kind of mixing it all up, but because Petaluma and Ag Trust just had events, we're not going to do a year-end appeal for them. We will do some social media at year-end, but then we'll do their typical year-end campaign. We'll do a spring campaign to separate, so that people aren't feeling like I just gave you money and now you're asking me again. So we're just going to mix it up differently this year. And then the rest of this is pretty standard. The prepayment to the district, we did bump that up a little bit this year. The designated reserves, the undesignated fund balance, and then that ERA reserve, which we have this year, and then last year will be the last year of that. One thing I wanted to point out about this budget and preparing it with Adrian, the coordinator position, we've been talking about the addition of another coordinator. It's not in this budget. Initially, we were planning that, but there just wasn't, we couldn't. I know you'll see that in the 5-year forecast, which I'll get to in a minute. You'll see why that position's not in the budget. And it's not in the budget moving forward because it would create too large of a deficit. So are there any questions about this very early year-to-date result? Okay, let me go ahead and close that. And then I will bring up the 5-year forecast. So let me. Can you all see that okay? Probably not. I'm not sure. Oh,
I can see it fine.
There's the Zoom. I think there's the. Okay. All right, so there's not, you're all familiar with this. We haven't looked at it for a while, but obviously the big piece of this is always the endowment administrative fee. You'll see the 22-23 column here is basically the budget you've seen. We put in the budgeted amount here. But then you'll start to see some different, some changes. Next year, normally we would project growth of $1 million in the endowment in addition to a 4.7% investment return. But we're just not going to do that for FY24, where this budget currently assumes a 5% decrease in investments, which is what we had projected last year. But for now, it's at a negative 5%. That's why you see the number go down to 997. And then, the years after that, we're assuming a rebound. We'll kind of revisit that as we get closer to that time. But right now, we're just predicting another down year in investments. The investment committee is meeting the first week of November, so we'll get a forecast update from them. The other revenue hasn't really shifted. There's that one in general unrestricted contributions. There's a bump there up to 50 next year. It's because we're getting there's this grant we've been receiving for adult literacy. We're getting one more award from them. It's from an anonymous donor. It's a $330,000 grant that we'll see for FY24. At the tail end of it, they're giving us kind of a bonus $15,000 for just, whatever we want to use it for. So we'll use it for our operation. They've also been covering admin expenses for that grant because there's a lot of work involved in the scholarship office, and that 5% admin has been going to the scholarship team. But I'm just bumping that up there a bit to reflect that money that will come next year. As you can see, I don't know if the rest of you thought about this, but the support fee now is playing pretty large in our budget. And, I can't imagine what the budget would look like this year. And, well, I can't imagine what it would look like if we didn't have that. Now, we haven't made our first assessment yet. We're going to be doing that on a quarterly basis after the quarterly reconciliation. So we're doing reconciliation right now for the first quarter, and then we're going to make our first 3% assessment. So I should have those numbers for you at the November board meeting. So you'll begin to see what the impact of that 3% support fee will be on the operating budget. Then salaries, again, the coordinator is not in here at all. You'll just see increases based on the step increases for certain staff members. Employee benefits, next year will go up because we're increasing health benefits in particular, which is something we didn't really do for the FY23 budget because we did a little bit in advance. So we're probably going to see an increase in health benefits show up even in the FY23 budget. But we're definitely forecasting it for 24. That's the increase there. And then of course we have the 2 more years of the ERI. And then down below, expenses don't really change much at all. You'll see a bump of $30,000 in the foundation fund development activities line next year. We need to start budgeting marketing dollars for plan giving. That's what that is. Because plan giving is really a marketing effort and we're not really marketing that right now. And we need to invest some marketing dollars there. I hope we'll be able to afford that because we've not been able to afford it up till now. But you'll see the projected deficits at the bottom, given the current forecasting. And obviously it's that 2% administrative fee that's playing a large role right now. So any questions, comments, reflections? I'm going to stop sharing here. Yeah, Chris.
My only comment is, of course, we don't like a deficit. And about 5 years ago, when we had more than this deficit projected in the 5-year, we started looking at how to change things up. That was before your time, Jay. I would just urge us, given the volatility in investments that has happened, to kind of wait and see. We have a large fund balance, so I don't think we need to panic. I don't suggest that we change anything. Let's revisit it in a year and see where we are on our projections. Because nobody really knows how things are going to go up.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel, Chris. And you know, I think things will be a little different after the election. Hopefully. But yeah, there's enough flexibility in here, both on the on the expense side and the revenue side, that we're not going to bring $100,000 deficit budget to you next year. But it gives us some play in here, and I just wanted you to see this overall long-term projection. All right. So, gosh, I think we're probably going to have a short meeting today. I do want to talk about some exciting stuff, though. And the big part of my foundation update is that I have some dates now about our project. They're planning our furniture installation on Tuesday, December 6th and Wednesday, December 7th. Assuming PG&E gets the utility pole installed before then, they have scheduled that. So as long as that doesn't get bumped for some reason, because if it does, then we won't get any furniture on the station until January. So, but we're planning now toward these dates. So we're looking at a move from here to the new building on Friday the 9th. And then we'll have IT come in first thing that Monday morning, get us all set up. So we will theoretically be in that building that week of December 10th, what is it, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, December 12th. But all the punch list things won't be done and all that stuff. So, but that's why we're not going to do any opening events until till the spring.
But you and the staff can have a little New Year's celebration in the building, hopefully for, right, 2023.
Yes, we're going to break a big old bottle of champagne right on the corner of the building.
Nice. When does the mural go in?
The mural is slated for installation the week of January 9th. Because I had to work, I'm working now around Marie, because Maria's teaching at Yale now. So now I have another, because she's got her whole academic schedule that's perfect because she's on break at that time and she can be out here. But it'll be, I wanted it installed before our first board meeting, so you'll get to, but I'm also going to do a reception for her that week, like that Thursday. I'm not sure what the date, 9, 10, 11, 12th. The 12th, we'll do just a really informal reception for her with the donors in that space. The wall will still be unfinished and all that, but it'll be fun to see it early. And then like I said, we'll have an opening event. We're planning 2 opening events in the spring. One will be for donors and Maria, and the other one will just be for all of our campus colleagues in open house. And we've budgeted money for those activities. So that's really exciting. And then just a quick couple of updates on, we're back into event mode now. We're doing events again. We had a very successful event in Petaluma on September 23rd. New format. It was all outside. People walked from station to station to learn about the different programs. They met with faculty and students. It was very popular. I mean, post-COVID, this is what donors want. They want informal. They want interactive. They want to be outside if possible. So we really nailed all those things well. We raised $101,000, which is more than they've ever raised before. They did they had $70,000 in sponsorships. And so they netted about $70,000, which is a lot for them. Like they normally net about 30,000. So that gives Matthew just, some nice additional funds to, because there are still, he has still things, we're running out of the Measure H money. So, some of the things that he had intended to do there, like that outdoor event space, he needs some money to get that finished off and things like that. So he's got some extra cash to do that now.
Did the trust solicit those sponsorships?
Yes, they did most of it, actually. Yeah, they were really active. I mean, we worked hard to position telling them your role is to secure sponsorships and ticket sales and help us with the donor development piece, right? Because they're so used to planning the event, the logistics of the event, and that's where their focus has been primarily. It's not really been on the fundraising, and we've shifted that, especially in Petaluma. And then we have the other event, which was the BCAT golf tournament. And Chris, since you're here, I'll just let you share that news.
So it was successful. It was full, had 136 golfers, which was actually 4 above the course recommended max. People had a great time. Food on the course was delicious, oysters and Polish dogs and tacos, and there was beer and water, a little warm, but it was a nice day, great community building. The target was to raise 20 grand. BCAT doesn't raise a ton of money, but the budget was to raise 20. We probably raised 22. We're still waiting for one donation to maybe come in, but it was successful. It was good. The group is still kind of figuring out its role vis-a-vis the foundation. I keep hammering them, telling them they really don't exist without the foundation, but they're still adjusting to that. But the golf tournament was great.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify because I was looking at the budget more closely myself, because I've always heard the $20,000 number, but so that's the net number. But so the event actually raised about 50,000, but then there's a 30,000 in expenses. So the 20 or 22,000, that's the net. So that's the money that Matt Markovich now has to distribute to the different athletic programs as needed. And then we had our second planning meeting for extravaganza yesterday. Ag Trust is very engaged in that. PJ Lococo and Sheila Quince are co-chairing that event. So they're very hands-on. But there's
remind me the date. I just want to be sure I have it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's May 13th, 2023.
Okay.
Finally get to honor Pat Emery. But there, the sponsorship committee, there's several decorations and the usual structure in place now. I think it's in good hands. And that'll be right before, obviously before and we've let them know that we won't be able to, we'll provide the usual back of house support that we do, but we won't be able to provide a whole lot of other support because we're going to be super focused on the president's address and Dr. Chong's celebration. So, but I think it'll work out fine because not only are PJ and Sheila co-chairing it, Benjamin's brought in an admin from his team who will do a lot of the administrative work there. They didn't hire an event coordinator this year because, frankly, the cost of all that, like everything else, has gone up. It's like $12,000 now for the most minimal event coordination. And that's a lot for, events that are, not raising at least six figures or more. So, and this event will, but they just didn't want to spend $12,000 that way. So. And then the only other, so let's go to other business then. I'll just go right to it. So Chris, I always appreciate your comments. I listen to you and because you have such a rich history here. And so when you made that comment about the Doyle Trust, we started talking about it right away. And so where we're at is we definitely want to, we're looking at increasing the scholarship distribution. We still get the roughly $4 million from the Doyle Trust. That's what we've been getting. But we currently have a policy in place that has 5% of that goes to administration. And then 20% of it's been going to the reserve fund. And the rest of it's available for distribution and scholarships. Now, we haven't been fully distributing the amount that's available for distribution either. Because enrollment, all those sorts of things. So then that money also it has been rolled into the reserve fund. So the statement you saw earlier, I think, had like $6.1 million in that one account at Exchange Bank. Kate, I think that's where we're kind of around that now for reserves, which is enough for a couple of years, right? I think we want to be at 3 years. We want to have a comfortable 3-year cushion in case there's another deep recession. But we are looking at making an adjustment to the policy because currently I think we're awarding about $2.8 million in scholarships. So there's room for us to be doing more. And so we want to add a new category. It's going to be called the Doyle Housing Scholarship. So students living in the dormitory or the student housing, whatever we're going to call it, and we will have a name for it too eventually, but the students will be eligible for a Doyle scholarship. Now, some of them may already be getting a Doyle scholarship, but they'd be eligible for more to offset their housing cost. It would roughly be $1,000 or $1,200 more for students living there, which is about enough to cover a month and a half rent for them. But that's the current thinking anyway. We're working on the kind of the forecasting for this now. We would have to bring this to the scholarship committee to change the policy. And the recommendation would be for us to, instead of allocating 20% to the reserve funds, we would allocate 10%, which is still about $400,000. So the other 10% that was going to reserves we would use for the housing scholarship, that's about $400,000 as well. So I met with Kate about this. I met with Rachel and Robert last week. I've just finished drafting a Q&A for this, like who would be eligible, how much would they receive, all those questions. And then Dr. Chong and I are going to be seeking an appointment with the Doyle trustees to run this by them first. I've already talked to the attorney about this, Kim Roy. This was her recommendation, actually. She said, just allocate more scholarship dollars for housing, so that's the plan that we put into action. And so so I'm just going to stop there. I think it's a great long-term solution. Initially, we're talking about maybe taking $1 million from the reserves and moving it over to the housing endowment. that but that in the end, that's only $1 million, right? So this particular formula will have a much longer play out and have much more of an impact on students. Yeah, Chris.
I think that sounds like a great idea. Housing is, a new sort of foundational piece in our student success plan at SRJC that not all community colleges have. So I think that's great news. It is a board policy with the trustees, so it'll have to be changed there. The intent was always to ratchet it back, but start it at 20%.
Yeah.
That was actually Robert Agrella. I realize we have now spanned Dr. Chong's presidency, but it was actually Dr. Agrella's suggestion and was to ratchet it back. And now it was actually a process I oversaw, the contraction and establishment of that. So if I can help at all with the Doyle trustees or with Kim Roy, I know them and worked very closely with them when we expanded the program or contracted the program. So just let me know.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
think it's a terrific idea.
I do too.
Just remember it's a scholarship program. So even though it's paying housing, I strongly recommend there be academic requirements that need to be met as far as a GPA and as far as unit completion requirement. That was always part of our housing program years ago when the JC had housing, and that really builds in expectations so that it helps students succeed.
Yeah, they're the exact same requirements as the Doyle scholarship would be.
Perfect.
In fact, we talked about this, because in terms of who would be eligible, it's really anyone who's living in that dormitory, because the Doyle scholarship is available to students regardless of need. But the need is going to be, the need piece comes in selecting who's going to be living there. So most of the students there, if not all of them, will be low income. So you've already
I would assume that anybody who is in the housing is already meeting the Doyle scholarship criteria.
To be in the housing, I would assume you have to be a full-time student or a 3/4 time student. No. Okay.
Half
Because
time.
unfortunately, only
Half-time.
17% of our students are full-time. Oh, and that's an old number. I mean, that may even be less
Okay.
now. But no,
So
only
half-time
6 units. And it will be a 12-month contract, though. So the housing scholarship will be available for up to 3 years, which is, again, it's the same as the Doyle scholarship, up to 3 years. So it's very much the same. We're just calling it a housing scholarship. So we have a scholarship meeting on December 2nd, and we'll be bringing this to them. But before that, we want to meet with at least 1 or 2 of the Doyle trustees. And then I'll be reporting back to Kim, so she's in the loop as well. But another great outcome, thanks to a comment you made at a meeting, Chris.
Jay, I don't know if you know, but my first job with the college was managing the residence hall that they used to have.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what brought me to Northern California with my family.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So yeah, I've heard some really great stories of people who met in that dormitory who are celebrating 50-year anniversaries.
Yeah, we used to say lives were changed in Kent Hall. That was and also lives were created in Kent Hall.
Yes, all of the above.
But a lot of great history there.
So I just had one other quick update. So this is the last day. This is also, it's hard to keep up sometimes here because there's always a week of recognition of something, lots of events, but this is Undocumented Student Action Week. This is the last day of it. This is my pin. I've got a butterfly on my lapel here. It says Defend Immigrant Rights. But I just wanted to share this story with you because it involves Steve Page. And when Steve retired, the Raceway decided to honor him by giving him a sum of money that he could distribute however he wanted. And he made a very generous donation to SRJC. And basically allowed me to recommend to him how he would divvy that up. And I suggested, he gives some money to the Dream Center, and he and Judy both were amenable to that. And Steve, when I see you in person, I have two.
Hey, Jay, can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to shut off the earphones because Judy's right here, so she.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Judy.
So I just got.
She's over here having breakfast.
All right. Hi, Judy.
Start the story over.
Well, I have two thank you notes here, which I'll give you when I see you, Steve. And if it's, I'm sure it was no accident they arrived this week, but they're from two students. So what Steve and Judy supported, because I met with the Dream Center and said, what do you need? And there's a special visa program for DACA students. It's called Advanced Parole. It allows a DACA student to go back to their home country, many of whom haven't been there for like years, right? And they get to see their family. They just go back home and they spend a week or two there. They see their family. It's a pretty emotional thing, actually. But what's important about it is it allows them to come back. It's a visa program. And then once they're back, it puts them on the path to citizenship. Like it basically, they're I don't know whether they're still technically DACA or not, but they're on the path now to citizenship. It accelerates that process for them. It's $575 for this visa. And the money that Steve and Judy provided will allow 8 students to apply for that special visa. 4 students have already applied and gone, and 2 of you'll hear the personal story from 2 of those students. There's still 4 other students that will have that opportunity. So I just wanted to acknowledge you, Steve and Judy, and this is like one of the many, many, many things that happen here that people know very little about, right? And of course, it's also through the Dream Center, so it's very quiet and tends to be done behind the scenes. But you just think about the 8 people's lives who are going to be, and their families who are going to be changed forever. So I just wanted to, thank you, Steve, and especially the last day of this action week, talk about taking some direct action, and we're grateful for it.
That's fantastic. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you. What an incredible opportunity for those students. That's great.
Yes, I don't think that visa will last, as soon as they get to immigration reform, I think that's probably that visa will go away. But right now it's available, and it's only $575 to provide that opportunity to a student. So
That's fun.
It's great stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I don't have anything else. Is any other issues, other business? All right. Well, so I just want to remind you all, so our next meeting's in February, and it's not on a Friday. We normally meet on Friday, but this happened last year too. Friday, where we would normally meet, is actually a holiday. It's the weekend we celebrate President's birthday, and it's a Friday and a Monday holiday. So we've moved this meeting to Thursday, February 16th, 9 o'clock, same time, and it will be in our new building. So, but you'll be in there before that, but.
Great.
Wonderful.
All right, everyone, we'll have a great weekend.
All right,
You-
you too.
Thank
Good meeting.
All right, bye-bye.